Hello friends, welcome to Single Player. What are the best local multiplayer games on PS4? The truth is that there are plenty of great options for some of the multiplayer perks on the PS4. While many games offer great online experiences, nothing beats local multiplayer with your friends and family in the same room. Finding the right game can quickly turn four best friends into mortal enemies, or turn the whole party into a jumble of laughter, screams, and joy. Fortunately, the PS4 has plenty of such titles to play. From creepy classics like Mortal Kombat and Crash Team Racing to totally unique hidden gems like Spelunky 2, there are plenty of titles to play that will make everyone jump for excitement. So, without further ado, let's begin our quest. In this video, you'll find a list of the top 25 best local multiplayer games on PS4. WWE 2K23 builds on the reboot that happened with the previous entry and gives you many options to rise to the top. Whether you choose one of WWE's superstars to show off or create your own wrestler to craft your own story, you'll soon be battling the best to be the best. Alternatively, you can step out of the ring and become the general manager to see how well you run one of the shows. The title has a lot to offer between the main game and the upcoming DLC. TMNTs have been characters for quite some time, and due to their popularity, many video games have been created about them. One of them is a classic-style title released in 2022. However, if you are wondering about the classic games that started TMNT's reign in video games, then you need to pick up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Cowabunga Collection. This collection of 13 titles includes titles from a variety of consoles and handheld devices. You probably haven't played these games in decades, if at all. So it's time to jump in and find out what it's like to be a turtle. Or, at least, a turtle ninja. Not too long ago, in a place only far away if you couldn't get to it by transport, someone realized that if they took the LEGO franchise and added Star Wars to it, he could earn a lot of money. At first it was about making LEGO Star Wars toys, but someone had a great idea about adding video games to the mix. Unsurprisingly, LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga has been a huge success. Great for both kids and adults, the Skywalker Saga is light and offers enough challenge to keep players coming back for a while. Following the game's launch, several DLC packs were added, including those based on The Mandalorian and Rogue One. The latest entry in Koei Tecmo's Slasher Warriors series, Samurai Warriors 5, features a new storyline, revamped character design, and updated graphic style. Friends can battle hordes of enemies together, online or in classic split-screen mode. Players can unlock this mode in about 30 minutes by continuing the story, and you'll want to do that. Causing mass carnage with a friend is always the more rewarding reward. Star Wars Battlefront is EA's first attempt at bringing back the once-beloved third-person shooter franchise. Initially, there were some issues fans had with the game, and so we received a sequel in 2017 in hopes of addressing some of those issues. Star Wars 2 retains the same gameplay style and is a third-person shooter set in the Star Wars universe, where the player sided with the Empire or the Resistance when fighting with many different types of cards. Similarly, the game also features battles and locations that appeared in the original, prequel and later Star Wars movies, also known as the Skywalker Saga. While the game is best known for its multiplayer action, there is still a single-player campaign that players can enjoy that takes place several years into the Skywalker Saga. We won't go into details, but you play as Iden Versio, a commander of a Special Forces commando unit known as the Inferno Squad. First set around Return of the Jedi, players are tasked with defeating the Rebel Alliance once and for all in a scheme that involves the use of the Death Star 2. However, as you can tell from the series, things don't go as planned, leading Iden to question his motives, his choices, and what's really best for everyone. This game had a few glitches and bugs, and at first there was a lot of misinformation about the various microtransactions being introduced. However, over the months, the development team helped make the changes needed to appeal to a wider audience and add more content. While major content updates have been completed for this game, there are still patches and fixes that will make the title enjoyable for both veterans and newcomers alike. Resident Evil 5 is a black sheep when it comes to the entire franchise. After Capcom achieved success with their changes to Resident Evil 4, they brought the same style of game mechanics as Resident Evil 5 but turned it into an even more action-packed experience. Here, the player takes on the role of Chris Redfield, although if you join with a side player, they take on the role of Chris' new partner, Shiva Alamar. In this game, Chris and Shiva work together to find the cause of the newly discovered outbreak in Africa. It was a problematic spread of the virus that forced the two to battle all sorts of hostile infected enemies. Although the game was initially met with critical acclaim, many fans now consider the title a fun cooperative horror action game. Towerfall Ascension is designed for local multiplayer. Inspired by the video game Kombat, Towerfall Ascension is a fast-paced archery-based combat title. Players are thrown into maps where they have to shoot each other while collecting various rewards throughout the map. With a limited number of arrows, the player can only continue the fight by walking around the arena and collecting previously shot arrows. Again, this particular video game was designed with more people in mind than getting into the game on its own. Nintendo may have dominated the kart racing genre with Mario Kart for years, but that doesn't mean alternatives don't exist. Crash Team Racing was first released on the original PlayStation, but years later we got a remake of this game. It's exactly what you'd expect from a kart racer. We have a collection of characters and map designs included in Crash Bandicoot IP. While running through the track, you can get various supports along the way. These will give the player some speed or provide weapons to use against other racers on the track. We don't need to go into the IP details of Mortal Kombat. It's a classic fighting franchise that started in video games but continues to find exciting new installments for today's modern platforms. One of the newest installments is Mortal Kombat 11, a story-driven game. Players get a brutal fighting title with these iconic characters. Whether you prefer a button press or a more technical combo of moves, Mortal Kombat 11 caters to a wide range of players. From the NetherRealm Studios development team we have the Injustice series. These are the people behind the Mortal Kombat games of the past few years, but in this series we are dealing with DC Comics characters. It's not as violent and bloody as Mortal Kombat, but the gameplay is pretty much the same. Battles go smoothly as players choose one of DC Comics' many iconic heroes or villains to fight with. Not only do the characters have different level designs to showcase the comic background each character comes from, but certain characters will have unique interactions with each other. In Spelunky 2, the player controls a single-player game searching for treasure in a series of different caves. Underground, players are very vulnerable to enemies, traps and of course lovely girls that need to be rescued. Spelunky is forever entertaining and unique as the levels are randomly generated with 4 separate areas of increasing difficulty. The second episode just adds to the fun, with more treasures to loot, dangerous caves to explore, and people to be rescued. Even better, The sequel added co-op gameplay with side player options available both locally and online. Brawlhalla becomes the free version of Super Smash Bros. Players like a platform fighting game that has many characters as well as items to use when facing opponents. There are even notable characters from other IPs included in the mix. For example, players can find characters from Shovel Knight, Tomb Raider, The Walking Dead and Adventure Time, and more. Despite being launched in 2017, the franchise continues to find new players to this day, and it has even turned into an esports title. Best of all, it's a free game, so if you haven't installed it, there's nothing stopping you from enjoying it right now. The Trackmania game is super fun. These are action-packed racing arcade games in which players race at high speed on various tracks around the world. One of the most popular pieces worth trying out is the Trackmania Turbo, which offers split-screen support. Players can band together and try to fight with up to 4 players. You can even create your own tracks in the level editor. Castle Crashers is a pretty iconic indie title from the development team The Behemoth. The studio continues to make other games, but you've probably played Castle Crashers before, or at least you're familiar with it. This is a hack-and-slash game in which the player takes the role of a knight who must defend the kingdom from all kinds of enemies. On the surface, the game is a 2D side-scrolling game where the player faces a series of boss battles. Up to 4 players can join the battle in what would take most players around 7 hours. If you haven't tried this game yet, you are missing out on a gem. Lovers in a Dangerous Spacetime is a hit indie game and a very simple game to pick up, but as the game progresses, it becomes extremely difficult to master. In this game, players will control a spaceship where they have to explore the galaxy. However, it is not always so easy, as there are various enemies and dangers that you will face throughout your journey. Being a large train, there are several stations located around, so it is difficult to move quickly to another area. This is where the available co-op feature comes in handy, as multiplayer can jump around the ship and keep attributes like weapons, shields, and engines. As you progress, you'll have the opportunity to make upgrades to give your ship a unique payload. Also, the levels are randomly arranged, so you can always find something new to discover every time you start the game. However, like the other titles on this list, you can add more than 2 players on this game. This title to support up to 4 players. It Takes Two beat the show in 2021, being named Game of the Year and becoming one of the best co-op games ever. The game is designed specifically for cooperative split screen, which means you have to play live or online with other players. There are lots of unique game mechanics and puzzles to solve, as well as lots of minigames. The basic story can touch a lot of people, and there are a lot of topics that will definitely make you cry, but after all, it's just a fun, simple and straightforward title. Sports Friends is an eccentric title designed for a minimum of 2 players. It's a collection of minigames that are great when you have friends together. For example, a player might experience a game in which you pole vault in the air to hit a ball tied to a string. The goal here is to shoot the ball into the opponent's goal. However, due to the strange physics, it is difficult to reach the ball and hit it properly. You even have a game where players use motion controllers to keep their hands steady while they listen to classical music. With each player representing an instrument in the band, the focus was on trying to shake the player's hand while holding the controller in the hope that moving too fast would cause their instrument to break during the game. While the graphics may seem sketchy, Nidhogg and Nidhogg 2 deliver a gaming experience that many gamers don't expect. The indie title was launched by developer Messhoff in 2014 and pitted two swordsmen in a mortal battle. Winning isn't the only way to advance, losing just changes how you get to the next round. Nidhogg takes us back to a time when graphics weren't important and gameplay was paramount. A little imagination doesn't hurt. Speedrunner is a competitive racing game where players take on the role of characters with grappling hooks. It's all about taking the lead by using your grappling hook to swing forward and jump over obstacles. Since the camera focuses on whoever is playing the lead, the last characters out of the frame will be killed. However, it is very easy to catch up and get ahead, because the person in front is less likely to see what lies ahead. This means that those in the back have an idea of the obstacles they will need to avoid in order to move forward. If you love Souls-like games and also want a local co-op split-screen experience, try Hellpoint. This is a game that doesn't throw you away. A pile of knowledge, but allows you to figure it out for yourself what's going on as you progress in the game. It's a brutal battle as you fight tons of hellish monsters. When you die, the game will provide a version of yourself to fight, so the better gear you have, the harder the fight will be later on. Street Fighter V, the fifth main installment in the Street Fighter series, shares the same gameplay style that IP is known for with some minor modifications. This title introduced V-Gauge launching three new techniques: V-Skills, V-Reversals and V-Triggers. Once the V-Gauge is built, players can use three new techniques that allow their characters to unleash powerful attacks or allow them to dodge those attacks from their opponents. Just like the other episodes, Street Fighter V has several different versions. The version we recommend, Street Fighter V Arcade Edition, also known as Street Fighter V Champion Edition. This not only comes with all the previously released DLC characters, but also adds more game modes and balance changes. Rock Band remains an iconic part of gaming history. This rhythm-based game challenged players to be the rock star of their dreams and featured a microphone, guitar, bass, and drums. Although Rock Band 4 is a bit older now, released in 2015, the gameplay itself is still very engaging. We may never see the same rhythm game hype we did it in the mid-2000s, but you'll definitely enjoy playing it the next time you throw a party. Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes is an excellent puzzle game that can be played by 2 or more players. In this game, a player was stuck with a bomb surrounded by some puzzles. To defuse the bomb, players must explain what they are watching while the rest of the group focuses on finding solutions. Meanwhile, you are trying to defuse the bomb successfully. To make things even more interesting, if you have a compatible VR headset, you can make things even more impressive. Puyo games never really made their way to the Western market compared to the original titles released in Japan. However, in 2014 we got the Puyo Tetris. If you're not familiar with these games, players will match 4 types of titles when dropped onto the board, much like Tetris. In Puyo Tetris 2, players can expect more challenges as they compete against each other and try to fill their board with blocks to win the game. Moving out is a bit like the Overcooked series. Instead of being a chef in a chaotic kitchen preparing food, moving out asks the player to work for a moving company. You'll need to quickly pick up and load your moving truck, but there's a catch. Can break fragile objects, this will cause your rank to drop when cleaning the house. Likewise, larger objects can be moved faster with the help of other players. However, the player can take advantage of the opportunity to increase the movement speed slightly by throwing objects for the player to get, such as throwing objects through a window to the ground at another player. Okay friends, so that was our version of the top 25 best local multiplayer games on PS4. If you have any questions, suggestions, criticisms, or in your opinion there are other best PS4 local multiplayer games that should be on that list, don't hesitate to write them down in the comments below. Of course, we will provide more games information in the future, so subscribe and keep watching Single Player to get other interesting games information from us. Thanks for watching and see you next time.